Hi everyone, it's Kelly here. If this is your first time visiting my channel, welcome. So glad to have you here. If you've been before and you're back again, thank you very much. I create bookish content. We talk books on this channel, so if that sounds like something you'd be interested in seeing more of, please feel free to subscribe. I've also got my links down to my Instagram, Storygraph and Goodreads in the description, so please feel free to link up with me there as well if you like. All right, today I'm making a video excuse me, while unwell. As you can hear in my voice probably, especially if you've been here before, I don't normally talk like this. Now, last time I made a video and my voice was sounding like this, probably doesn't seem that long ago to you because I filmed a few videos a few weeks ago while I was sort of on the tail end of having COVID. So this is no longer COVID. I had 2 weeks of feeling relatively well, and then all of a sudden I got another viral infection. It's not COVID, it's not the flu, who knows what it is. So I have some kind of unnamed virus at the minute, and it is affecting my throat and my voice, so apologies for that. All right, today I'm making a video that's a little bit of a different video to what I've made before. So a few weeks ago when I was filming my wrap-up for May, I was talking about having been in a bit of a reading slump because I'd started a book that I wasn't really enjoying very much. I wasn't really getting along with. And unfortunately, what happened was it meant because I wasn't really keen to pick that book up, I went for a couple of weeks really of just not reading very much at all. Maybe like dipping in here and there and just not enjoying it. And it was as not wanting to go back to that was putting me off reading at all. And unfortunately, that has happened again this month. So I'm not recording my wrap up just yet. It's not quite the end of June when I'm recording this. So I've still got a little bit of time left to do a bit more catching up. And thankfully, the book that was stalling me this month, I have now gotten through and it's done. But it got me thinking because my husband suggested to me, is there something that you can, pick up and read that you're excited by, like something that you really actually want to read? And it got me thinking about rescue books that come to the rescue when you are just in a slump. You're reading something that's maybe really heavy, or you're just not enjoying, you want to finish it, but it's not working for you right this minute, and you just need like a palate cleanse or to read something that's joyful, short, something to just kind of get the cogs turning again. And the book, so I did that. What I did was I walked all around to the many, many bookshelves around my house, and I picked out books. So the rules were it had to be less than 200 pages. I had to think that maybe it was going to just be positive, like nothing heavy, nothing, things could go wrong, but like we're going to be resolved easily, not, things that were going to kind of weigh me down, things that were going to make me smile. That's what I was looking for. So I picked up a stack of books, some of which I've read, some of which I haven't read before. And I'm going to share those with you now. Now, the book that saved me, or books I should say, because I read them in quick succession, were these two little guys. So The Tea Dragon Society is a book I read last year. It's a graphic novel, and it is my entire review for it on the Storygraph and Goodreads is so darn wholesome. Like, this is the most wholesome thing that you will ever pick up. It's very short. It's only about 50 pages or so. Let me see if I can find a page number. 60 pages. So it's 60 pages long, not very long at all. So it's a quick read. It's really wholesome. It makes you smile. It makes you think that things are okay in the world. So number one, I should have picked this up straight away because beautiful. So I reread this. And the reason I reread it was so that I could read the second one, which I had not read at the time. I now have read it, The Tea Dragon Festival. Now, this is a prequel to the Tea Dragon Society. In the Tea Dragon Society, we meet these two girls that are on the front cover there. And it's their kind of coming to know tea dragons, and we kind of get introduced to this world of the tea dragons. In this second one, it's a prequel, so these girls are not in this second one. The two adult characters that are part of the Tea Dragon Society are featured in this book, but it's actually the story of this girl who is the sister of one of the characters that we met in the first book, and her name is Rin. And so we follow her adventure. This one is a little bit longer, so it's more like 100 and something pages, 130 pages or so. And it is delightful, absolutely delightful, just as wholesome as the previous one. Yes, there are little problems that come up, but it's nothing too great in the sense of imminent harm or imminent danger. It's more just working through things, which was exactly what I needed. So I was really, really pleased that these two books were able to get me out of my little slump. And since I have been reading and I have been finishing more books, including that one that was stalling me. I'll talk more about that when I do my June wrap up. But let me show you some of the other books that I picked out in my pile that I'm actually just going to keep as a pile now, where anytime I'm in a slump, or if I'm just feeling like the things that I'm reading are too heavy or too, I just need a little palate cleanse, I'm going to pick something from this pile, because I think that these books, and only one of them I've read before, but I think that these books are going to help me do that. So the first one I want to show you is this one, which is Kusama by Elisa Macellari. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that surname. Macellari, maybe? Macellari? Anyway, I'm so sorry. It's a graphic novel about the artist Yayoi Kusama. Now, Yayoi Kusama's life has not necessarily been the easiest, so I know that there will be things in here of her kind of going through some stuff. However, I adore the art that she makes. She's one of my favorite artists, and I know her story quite well, so there shouldn't be anything in here that's super surprising to me, and I think that I will very much enjoy reading this fabulous, beautifully illustrated graphic novel about her life. Okay, so that's Kusama. That's the last of the graphic novels. Now I'm going to talk about, I've got one non-fiction. Let's talk about that one first, and then we'll move on to the fiction. So this is Think Like an Artist by Will Gompertz. So the full title is Think Like an Artist and Lead a More Creative, Productive Life. The reason I think that this will help me get out of a slump, so one, it's quite short. It's just... technically one page. It's 201 pages, but we'll allow it. The reason that I think that this will help me to get out of a slump is, one, because this text is like there's a lot of images in here as well, so there's interesting things to look at. Full page graphics like that. Yeah, so I think because it's non-fiction and because it's, exploring art, which is a topic I'm really interested in, I'm thinking that this will help me if I get stuck. Wow, that's weird. Two people breathing in and out of each other's mouths. Yeah, so because I really enjoy art, I feel like I'm going to find this an interesting read as opposed to a hefty read. It's also kind of encouraging creativity, so I can't imagine that it's going to be a heavy book that's talking about heavy themes. So that's why I thought this one could add to the pile. I've also got in this stack, I'm realising, a poetry book. Now, poetry can be a little bit on the edge because sometimes poetry is quite heavy. Some of my favourite poetry is heavy, and one of my favourite books of this year, Drop Bear, that I read in May, is quite a heavy book of poetry. I probably wouldn't pick that up if I'm wanting to feel like light and, energized by reading. That's a book that I want to be able to study and to kind of like really, really get into. But one that I thought might fit the bill for what I'm looking for here is Swamp, Walking the Wetlands of the Swan Coastal Plain, poems by Nandi, Chinna. So this is, so the Swan Coastal Plain, I actually am not 100% sure, but I feel like is in WA. I'm seeing Perth mentioned here. So yeah, this is set in Western Australia, and they are poems that are to do with the different parts of the swamplands, or the wetlands of the Swan Coastal Plain, and it's looking at history and ecology of that area, and it says using the research methodology of walking as art practice, Chinna traces the shadowy outlines of wetlands lost and traverses those wetland fragments that remain. So they're different types of poems as well, just whatever was kind of like, drawing her attention as she was doing that walking. And it's called a compelling poem book, but it's also an important social document about this area. Now, I don't know anything about this area in particular, but I just thought something that was kind of based in place and was exploring kind of science and history was likely to be interesting and not necessarily light all the time, but accepting of what is. So I'm not anticipating that there's going to be any poems in here that are like super, super heavy. So that's why I have added this poetry. I wanted to add some poetry, and this was the collection that I thought might fit the bill. I've not read it yet, so I don't know if that is the case. I hope so. But that's why it's on my pile. Okay, I've also included a little bit of a mix here now of books that are written for children and books that are written for adults. So the first one I'm going to show you is Kiki's Delivery Service by Eiko, Kadono. Now, I don't know much about this story, but I know that it is a beloved story. So I'm going to have a look now at the synopsis that's in the dust jacket. Half-witch Kiki never runs from a challenge, so when her 13th birthday arrives, she's eager to follow a witch's tradition, find a new town to call home for 1 year. Brimming with confidence, Kiki flies to the seaside village of Eiko and expects that her powers will easily bring happiness to the townspeople. But gaining the trust of the locals and finding success is trickier than expected. With her faithful, wisecracking black cat Gigi by her side, Kiki forges new friendships and builds her inner strength, ultimately realizing that magic can be found in even the most ordinary places. Blending fantasy with the charm of everyday life, this new translation of Eiko Kadono's beloved classic, which inspired the enchanting animated film, will bewitch the hearts of new readers and dedicated fans alike. So I'm looking forward to that. It's quite short. There's some gorgeous illustrations throughout, and especially little cat illustrations, which I like. It's 193 pages, so not too long. Something that I definitely can get through in a short amount of time, and something that I'm kind of looking forward to. I do like books that have witches and a little bit of supernatural in them, especially in books that are suitable for younger readers, because I think this is the kind of book I would have really enjoyed reading as a child, but I've never read it before, and I'm quite keen to get to it when I can. Look at that washing. So fun. All right. Then I've got a book called Blueback by Tim Winton. This is a gorgeous collection of books that I own. I don't own all of them, but it's the Penguin Australian Children's Classics that were in circulation a few years ago now, which is why I can't get all of them now. I really wish that I had bought them all at the time, but I've got about 5 of them. So this is the shortest one that I own. It's by Tim Winton, who is a quite well-known Australian author. And this is a book that he wrote for children. There's a lot of sort of these type of pages in between. So I know it's going to be a short read anyway, even if it didn't have as few pages as it does. But let me quickly find the page count. 136 pages. So quite short and with a lot of kind of little blank spaces and little end papers in between. So I believe this is about a fish and living in a coastal town. Yeah, let me read you the little excerpt that's on the back. Blueback slipped close to them, fins rippling. His scales shone, his tail fanned. He was the colour of all their dreams. So I'm guessing this is Blueback, and I'm assuming that we're going to be having a bit of a seaside adventure with this giant fish. So I'm looking forward to reading this one, and I know that it will be wholesome. I've read another of Tim Winton's children's books before, and I know that this book is regularly assigned in schools as a novel for younger readers. So I know that this one is going to be really wholesome and something that I'm really looking forward to. One that I've read before is Stuart Little by E.B. White, who is the author of Charlotte's Web. But Stuart Little, I guess most of us are probably more familiar, especially people my age and a little bit younger, are more familiar probably with the film than with the book. I read this a couple of years ago now, and for the first time, and I couldn't believe that it had taken me so long to read it. It's absolutely delightful. So basically, we've got Stuart Little, who is a mouse who gets adopted by a human family as their son. And he has this, they already have one biological son, so then he gets a brother who is a human. And it takes a while for his human brother to kind of come around to the idea of having a mouse brother. So it's sort of this like, all of the things that you imagine could potentially go wrong for a mouse. For example, the family have a pet cat, falling down holes and, sort of having these adventures and getting lost and finding it difficult to navigate around his new town where he lives, and so on. So all of those things kind of go on for Stuart Little, and it's a really delightful little book. So I know that if I'm needing to kind of read something that's a little less intimidating, this is definitely one that I can pick up. So it has illustrations as well, I should say. 131 pages. So it's really delightful, and if you've not read it before, I encourage you to get a copy. It's absolutely beautiful and definitely a good buster for feeling a little bit, down in the dumps with your reading. The last one that I picked up is one that I think is going to be a little bit maybe humorous, but also unexpected, and things kind of going in interesting directions. And it's All Passion Spent by Vita Sackville-West. So basically this is about this woman here. So her husband, who is Lord Slane, who is a former Prime Minister of Great Britain, passes away, and she's 88 years old, and everyone just kind of assumes that she's going to fade away in her grief and take that path. However, she takes it as an opportunity to kind of revive herself and take her life in a completely different direction, which I just quite like the idea of this 88-year-old woman just being like, okay, well, he's gone now. what can I do? And just kind of enjoying the last kind of years of her life, especially someone who is the wife of a former prime minister. So this one is 169 pages long, not too long at all. And I know that when I do eventually pick this up, I'm going to enjoy it, I'm pretty sure. So that's that. All right, so I hope that I've shown you a book today that you perhaps didn't know about or hadn't considered as a potential sort of buster for those moments when things kind of go a bit awry and you're not really feeling what you're currently reading. Let me just collect all of these together to hold them up for you. So here is my little collection of books that I am going to keep aside now for those moments when things aren't quite going right, or I just need a palate cleanse after reading some really heavy literature, which I do love to read. But yeah, sometimes you just need something a bit lighter to kind of keep you moving along in between those books. And when you're reading something that you're not enjoying, that you would like to finish, sometimes just picking up something light in between can give you the kick up the bum that you need to kind of keep going. So do you have any suggestions of books that I could add to this collection of wholesome or interesting short books that can really kind of help in these circumstances? I'd love to hear your suggestions down in the comments, and I will talk to you on the next video. Bye.